Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Yoga at Laurie's and Berkshire Yoga Dance and Fitness. Nice to see you once again. I just wanted to let you know that I'm starting to do outdoor classes now, so check my schedule. I'll be doing Sunday mornings also at Springside Park with Berkshire Yoga Dance and Fitness. I'm looking forward to that. And in today's class, what I wanted to focus on was a style of yoga called yin yoga. Yin is probably my most popular class that I teach. And it's a type of yoga that I've started to fall in love with. It's if we look philosophically at yin and yang, or yin and yang, it's the Chinese philosophy where yin means shade, yang means light. And really it's a metaphor for how life is very complementary. So if we have daylight, we need night to create a contrast and a complementation of what is there. So sadness might be joy. So those two would be, sadness might be the yin component, yang would be the joy. So we tend to think of the yin as a more passive, receptive, surrendered state, like sleep, like restoring. So you can get an idea that the yin yoga will be something that restores us, renews us, but it's surprisingly a very deep yoga. And studies are starting to come out to show that gentle yoga has incredible effects on the body. It affects the nervous system, it affects the respiratory system, the lymphatic system. So what I'll be focused on today is the deeper connective tissue of the body. Things that are a little drier, so not the muscle which gets a lot of blood flow, but things like ligaments, tendons, fascia. And if it's a kind of yoga that you like, good news is I'm going to create a 10-week, 3-phase series on yin yoga and stretch, and the reasons that it is so good for you. So the first thing is to come into a comfortable seated position, sitting on the edge of something, pelvis tilted forward. Now notice my left foot is centrally located to the body, so I want you to try and get your legs as wide as possible. If your knees are up in the air, I would like you to support them with blocks so that you feel no strain. So the art of yin yoga is to create an effortless yoga where you're allowing the body to open naturally. It's like it blooms, like a flower opens, not through force, but simply through relaxation. So find a comfortable seated position where you feel relaxed. Roll the shoulders up, back, down, palms face up. Lengthen through the back of the body. Close the eyes. Notice the breath. So 3 meditations in yin yoga I'll keep coming back to. One is the breath. If you can, slow the breath down. Breathe a little more gently. So when we slow the breath down, breathe a little more gently. There's some physiological changes in the body. The heartbeat starts to slow down. the nervous system starts to move more into the parasympathetic state, that relaxation response. And if you extend the exhale, exhale for a little longer than you normally would by drawing the stomach back in towards the spine, squeeze empty. Then relax to inhale. So that's all there is to do, is focus on a long, extended, gentle exhale. Relax on the inhale. And this will start to naturally deepen the breath without effort. The second principle of yin yoga is to become very still in whatever pose we're holding. This is called easy seated pose. The names in yin yoga will be a little different from the names you're used to from hatha. So the yin yoga was derived from some ancient Taoist martial arts, where the martial arts had a vigorous component, the yang component, and then this passive, deeper stretching component, the yin component. So becoming still and holding the pose for long periods of time. So in today's class, I'll be encouraging you to stay in poses for long periods of time at a comfortable edge. Something happens when you stay for extended periods of time that doesn't normally happen in a stretch class or a yoga class. By sustaining the stretch, you start to hydrate the deeper connective tissue, the ligaments, the tendons, the fascia. Anything from 2 to 5 minutes. Paying attention to the sensations you feel as you're still. Always adjusting so that you're in delicious discomfort rather than pain. And the third principle of our yin today will simply be to relax. So anywhere you feel undue, unnecessary tension, like the hands can go limp, shoulders relaxed, face relaxed. Scanning the body for any unneeded tension. And then when it's ready to come out of a pose, come out slowly and gently. So you're sustaining this sense of ease as you transition from pose to pose. Create a little gentle rocking forward and backward. Extend the legs for a moment. The next pose that we'll be doing is butterfly pose, sometimes called bound angle in the hatha tradition. Now you'll notice that I'm sitting on the edge of something which creates a forward tilt in my pelvis. Now you can have nothing underneath you. It's going to create a little more tension in the hip flexors. So this elevated sit bones, bringing the hip up a little bit, creates a forward tilt in the pelvis. This is going to be a forward motion, forward bending thing. I'm going to recommend you have a couple of blocks or a bolster. The soles of the feet come together, bound angle. Now, grab hold of the shins, start to rock forward and backward. Feel the sensations in the hips and the low back. Keep the shoulders relaxed. The next time you come forward into what feels like a natural segue. Now, if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis, I'm going to ask that you keep your chin up and you keep your spine long, so you're not rounding the back. For those who don't have that condition, I will, at least in the beginning, ask you to do the same. So you're just simply leaning forward, finding that long back. All right. So the blocks are going to allow me to drop my forehead or my chin down towards the feet. So supporting the head allows my focus to remain in the sensations in my hips, my thighs, and my back. Now let's say you don't have the blocks. What you could do is simply allow the head to rest. If your head comes down low enough, you can use the thumb or your fists to support the head. So there's all sorts of ways to do this. If you have a bolster, you can support your forehead against the bolster. Now once again, use this time, this lengthened time of stress. Now I use the word stress in yin yoga in a different way from the way we normally relate to stress. I want you to think of stress as simply a force that's applied to particular aspects of the body, letting the body's weight and position create the stress on the joint. So really in yin yoga, the joints are our focal point. Remembering the principles, slowing the breath down if possible, and bringing your attention to the breath is also an indicator if you are in the pose in a way that's beneficial, supportive. If you find you can't breathe, slowly, deeply, gently, it probably indicates that there's too much sensation in your body right now. And that would just simply mean to back off a little bit, to ease out a little bit. So the benefit is through the sustained stress on the joint. So we're not briefly visiting the stretch, we're hanging out here for 2 to 5 minutes. So if you can slow the breath down, it probably means you're in the right place, the right time, for the right reason. The second indicator is, can I relax the shoulders, neck, head? Once again, if you can't, it may indicate that you're created too much too soon in this pose. And the way we come out of any pose in yin yoga is to come out gently and slowly. So bring your hands down to the floor. Walk your hands back to lift the body up, not using the back. Moving the props out of the way, pick the knees up, stand the feet on the edges of the mat, come off whatever you're sitting on. Now lean back into the hands and gently pull the shoulders back, create a stretch. So our transitions between poses in yin are purposeful and time to feel the effect of the pose. Gently sway the knees from side to side. So notice in these small movements the effects from holding the pose for a long period of time. And this also gives us time to allow the blood flow to replenish, to flood back into where we created so much compression through the stretch. So now we're going to come down into a back bend. You can have your blocks at the top of the mat and come down onto your belly. Straddle the feet nice and wide, Charlie Chaplin feet. Bring the elbows towards the top of the mat and stack the hands, resting the forehead on stacked hands. Start to melt into the mat, allowing this first stage of the back bend to reveal itself. Notice the sensations you feel in the low back, the pelvis, the hip flexors. Can you extend the exhale, drawing the navel gently back towards the spine? As you do that, you'll feel the pelvis press into the mat, and you'll feel the lower back engage. You'll feel the glutes engage. A little squeeze. Let the inhale naturally unfold and fill the lungs, slowing the breath down in crocodile pose. So this is the first stage of our back bend. It'll be about a 5-minute back bend. The second stage is to, on the next exhale, squeeze empty, squeeze the buttocks, lift the head, and prop the elbows underneath the shoulders close enough so that the hands can reach the upper arms. Head gazes down towards the mat. Release the hands from the arms, palms down. So you recognize this as a variation of Sphinx pose. Now, rather than puffing the chest forward like we would in yoga, let the head gently drop down towards the chin. Or if you'd like to use a block to support the head, you can. So either way, if you have any neck issues, use the block. Otherwise, allow the weight of the head to sink forward towards the chest. Now, rather than puffing the chest through like hatha, allow the area between the shoulders and the shoulder blades to sink down. A certain kind of relaxation, ease. Create the slightest tension of pulling the shoulder blades back down the spine towards your hips, but not enough to be pulling yourself through the arms, just enough to Keep the shoulders away from the ears. Every now and then reminding the neck to let go. Feeling the traction in the back of the neck. Can I slow the breath down? Now yin yoga, if you could do it, if you do yoga a lot, let's say you do yoga 5 times a week, yin yoga once or twice a week is a great way to complement the more vigorous yoga that you do. You'll notice a big difference very quickly. Now, if you don't do yoga much, I would recommend you do yin yoga at least once a week, because it doesn't matter how often you walk or run or work out at the gym, you need to stretch. On the next exhale, squeeze the buttocks, lift the head. We're going to come into the final stage of the back bend. Bring the hands out to the edges of the mat. Thumbs point straight ahead. Fingers flare out to the side. Start to straighten the arms. Now, if that's too intense, come back to this variation of Sphinx. So we call this seal pose. In seal pose, you can drop the chin once again, releasing the back of the neck. Feel the sensations of extension in the hip flexors, the low back. Slow the breath down. If you'd like more intensity, you simply walk the hands back closer to the body. Avoid the temptation to shrug the shoulders. You'll feel the shoulder blades squeezing towards each other, but you're not lifting the shoulders towards the ears. Drop the chin. Slow the breath down. One of the big advantages of yin yoga is it's a contemplative or introspective yoga, bringing your attention into sensation and breath. Creates a meditative state that can steady the mind. It can also help you discover those areas of the body that need support, need your attention. You'll find over time that your range of motion starts to deepen with consistent yin practice. I teach it a couple of times a week virtually. So check my website anytime you'd like to join in. 3 more breaths here. On the third exhale, bend the elbows. Take your time as you come down and stack the hands under the forehead. Let the whole body melt into your mat. Bend the knees. Walk the knees closer together. Touch the feet and then sway the feet from side to side, the legs, windshield wipering. Exhale, drop the feet down. Point the toes and curl the toes. Just a little bit of ankle work here. waking up the feet. Curl the toes, bring the hands under the shoulders, press up onto all fours. Let's just see how this feels on the back. A little cat and cow here. Drop the toes down, lift the head, arch the low back, tilting the pelvis forward, and then slowly draw the pelvis underneath, round the back, drop the chin down, come into your angry cat, and notice how that feels after all that back bending. Take 2 or 3 more cat and cows with the breath, releasing. Try to have some blocks handy. If you don't have blocks, you can use books, you can use cans of baked bean or rolls of toilet paper. And bring your left foot forward, hands on top of the blocks. Now take a moment to look at my back knee, my right knee. I want the back thigh to be oblique to the hips. I don't want the knee directly under the hips. I want to create a stretch in that back right hip flexor. If you would like to experiment, curl the toes, walk your knee back a little bit, and then drop the toes back down. That's going to give you more sensation in that back hip flexor. But you don't want too much sensation. Another way to get sensation is to simply lean the weight of your body into the hands, into the blocks, and that will also add sensation to that back hip flexor. To reduce, you simply push the blocks away and bring the hips closer over top of the knees. So you find your Goldilocks spot here through micro movements, micro adjustments. So of course, sustaining, this is called dragon pose in yin. It's similar to a runner's stretch. And of course you can see the similarity. This would be to warrior one or runner's lunge in your yoga series. Bring your attention back to the back hip flexor. Slow the breath down. Now if you can slow the breath down and this feels okay, you can also bring both blocks inside the left foot and you can lower them down. So this will increase the range of motion in that back hip flexor. You can also come down onto your elbows, your forearms onto the blocks, and that will give you more sensation. So you can grow into the stretch over time. Using the canaries in the coal mine, the breath. Can I breathe slowly, gently, deeply? Can I relax my shoulders, neck, and head? If the answer is yes, then stay here. Stay here or deepen the pose over time. If the answer is no, just adjust. Come back a little bit, take the intensity off. Become still. Like you're in meditation. Meditating on sensation, breath, and relaxation. If you'd like to add a new twist to this, simply pivot the left foot so that the toes come out towards the edge of the mat. And you can start to lean into that left elbow a little more, creating sensation in that left inner thigh. as long as it doesn't result in tension or breath retention. Keep the breath flowing smoothly. Sometimes padding under the back knee is helpful if you have a blanket. And can you feel, even though this is a very passive, gentle yoga, can you feel how deep the potential is? Can you feel how the joint, this time the inner thigh at the front, the back hip flexor, over time, with this kind of extension, this kind of threshold stretch over time, can you feel how this is going to open you up? 2 more breaths. On the next inhale, bring the left hand to support you, right hand to support you. Float the left knee back, coming into tabletop. And in tabletop, just allow yourself to create a little circle with the hips. Reverse that circle's direction. Prepare to move into the other side, right foot forward. Curl the toes of the back foot and simply walk the knee back. Drop the toes of the back foot. Check in with the sensation. Is it appropriate? Is it too much? Is it not enough? Little micro movements forward, side to side. Feel that left hip flexor starting to wake up. Close the eyes and check in with the breath. Is my breath being managed? Or is it automatically taking over? Can I manage the breath, slowing the breath down? Now remembering again, you have the options to bring the blocks inside the right foot. And you might find different positions of the blocks, different heights of the blocks. Create sensations you enjoy or not. Avoid the temptation to get into a narrative, a story about the pose. Simply just check in if you can sink deeper into the pose. You can come to the forearms at any time, if that works. Start to become still, allowing the weight of the body to create stress in the joint. Just like a masseur would create stress with their hands or thumbs pushing into a particular part of the body. So we do this with our own relaxation. into the joint, resulting in a stimulation to that area, a hydration, a moistening, allowing that drier, gristly, often stiff component. It's like a sponge that's lost all its moisture. And now suddenly you add some moisture simply from holding the pose for longer periods of time. And in that addition of moisture, it becomes a little more ability to expand, flex. Option to pivot the right foot, toes come out towards the edge of the mat. This changes the front experience of that front right side. If you lean a little bit towards the right, you'll feel it more intensely. If you lean to the left, you take the intensity off. So just adjust. Check with the breath. Check with the breath that you're in the right direction. Check with the shoulders, neck and head, face. Can they all relax? Using these simple awarenesses to guide your practice. And in this series that I'm creating, I'll be really going into this listening to the body, this threshold stretching, coming to your comfortable edge or deliciously uncomfortable edge. I'll be going into the way the breath works, various breath techniques to manage the nervous system. Five more breaths. Now on that fifth breath, using the hands and the arms to support you, gently, consciously come out stage by stage, floating that right knee back, cat and cow. Widen the knees for a moment, bring the feet together, sink the hips back into child pose. Notice the felt experience in the hip flexors after all that extension. Let the head rest against the mat, or hands, or fists, or block. Turn the head to the left, feel the neck. Inhale neutral. Exhale the head to the right. And then come back onto your shins for a moment. If you have a blanket handy, I'm going to recommend that you bring the blanket out beside your mat. Let's start on the left side. So you've got your mat, you've got your blanket on the floor beside the mat. You won't need the blocks. Come down onto the belly. Come onto your forearms. Now bring the left knee out onto the blanket, knee perpendicular to the hip. A nice 90-degree angle with the knee and the foot ankle supported by the blanket. The extended right leg, toes point down. Bring the elbows out 90 degrees into goalpost arms and rest your head against the mat. The temple, the right side or the left side, so you can rotate the head in either direction is fine. If at any time you feel discomfort in the neck, simply stack the hands and rest the forehead on your stacked hands, keeping the head more neutral, unrotated. So this has several names. One name that we call this is half frog pose. It's a nice way to get into one hip at a time. Often frog pose can be a little intense. My Australian friends call it crime scene pose. Notice the breath. When we lay on the belly like this can result in some of the most relaxing of our yoga. And for some people, it's not relaxing. As long as you're not endangering yourself, putting yourself into a painful situation, continue with this. If this feels comfortable, invite your right arm to sweep behind you and rest the back of the right hand onto the small of your low back. You can tuck the fingers underneath the waistline of your pants and then take a deep breath in. As you exhale, relax the right elbow and shoulder. Allow the weight of the right arm to rest and sink into your low back. Check in that the neck is okay with this. This is one of my favorite poses in yin yoga in the sense that I could be here for 10, 15 minutes quite easily. We'll be here for about 5 minutes in total. Feel the breath. Slow the breath down. You might be able to hear the sound of your breathing. Relax the right shoulder even more. If you're comfortable with the right arm still, invite the left arm back so that both arms now rest on the low back. Take a deeper breath in. Exhale completely, relaxing both shoulders, both arms. Feeling the weight of two arms melding into the low back. slowing the breath down. 5 more breaths. Take a deeper breath in. Release the arms. Bring the hands under the forehead. Keep the knees out. Start to rock from temple to temple across those stacked hands. Release the left knee. And for the next 3 to 5 breaths, simply feel, notice, and if you can, accept. Allow the experiences you're feeling and noticing. Noticing the contrast between the right and left thigh, right and left hip. And as if a wave has just washed up on a beach and removed all the tracks and you have a clear slate, we're going to come to the other side, prop yourself up, grab that blanket and simply bring it to the other side. Bring the right knee out. Create that 90-degree angle. Come into goalpost arms with the head rotated towards the other side. Take your time here, particularly with the neck, to make sure it feels okay in this rotation, knowing you can always stack the hands under the forehead. Feeling the front of the body against the earth can be very nourishing, supporting, particularly feeling the movement of the breath. You can start to really feel how much of the body is involved in your breathing here. You may even experience a sense of expansion and contraction. You might feel the body gently rising and falling with each breath. And this kind of awareness that you're cultivating by holding the poses for long periods of time, it may seem not that important, but really it has a significance that you'll be amazed as a skill of sensitivity to your own body as you age, by being able to feel these nuances of sensation and being able to respond to them when they arise, means you can start to listen to your body when it whispers, rather than waiting till it screams. Take the left hand behind you, bring it onto the back, tucking the fingers under the waistline of the pants. Take a deep breath in. Exhale completely, relaxing that shoulder. Letting the weight of the arm sink into the low back. Checking in with the neck. Each time we bring one of the arms back, it's going to potentially add a little more stress to the rotation in the neck. So if you'd like to explore with the second arm coming back, notice how that feels in the neck. Take a deeper breath in, lift the shoulders up, and then exhale. Relax the arms, relax the shoulders. Let the full weight of the arms and shoulders sink you down into your mat. What I love particularly about half frog pose is the fact that we're working on so many different parts of the body as we do this. The left hip flexor, the rotator in the right hip, the external rotator. The tightness that's experienced where the neck and the shoulders join. Feeling the sternocleidoid mastoid muscle in the neck. Wow, that's a big name. Sternocleidomastoid. This muscle can get very, very tight. It's also a training to allow yourself to breathe at a deeper level. Now, what do I mean by a deeper level? I mean bringing your attention into the expansion and relaxation of the belly. So you start to feel the lower abdominal muscles taking over the breathing process here. You start to feel what it's like to breathe diaphragmatically without any effort. And the reason it's important to breathe diaphragmatically with the belly moving, the abdominals contracting and relaxing, even the pelvic floor, if you squeeze the anus a little bit as you breathe out and then relax as you breathe in, you start to feel all this lower musculature drawing the air deeper into the lower lungs. And this is where we have more efficient breathing in these lower lung areas. When we only breathe in the upper respiratory tract area, in the upper lungs, the breathing tends to be shallow and rapid. We often hold the breath. This affects the state of the nervous system to this deeper, natural, diaphragmatic breath. holds in the relaxation response for longer periods of time. Either moving us into a relaxed state or a state of homeostasis, evenness. And also I just feel the sensations in the shoulders, helping release those tight shoulders. Another thing I find about yin yoga is if I have any injuries, it's a great way to stretch out and be very mindful around injuries, preventing further injury and managing the injuries I have. 5 more breaths. On the 5th exhale, remove the hands, the arms. Take your time. Stack the hands under the forehead. Gently roll from temple to temple. Allowing time for the blood flow to rehydrate that area. Enjoying that rotated leg for a little more, and then exhale, bring that knee back to join the other leg. Using this transition time as an opportunity to feel what's happened for your hips in half frog pose, what's happened for your shoulders and neck. And then gently roll onto your back. Bring the hands out to the side, stand the feet on the edges of the mat, extend the back of the neck, and gently rock the knees from side to side. The next time the knees come to the left, leave them there. Gently turn the head to the right. And I think by now you're starting to see that these poses we've held from anything from 2 to 5 minutes, long time. And in that investment of time, notice what's happening to the body and the nervous system. You're not straining, you're not sweating. It's a cool, introspective yoga. but something significant happens. Inhale the knees to neutral. Exhale the other side. Knees fall to the right, head turns to the left. Slowing the breath down. Relaxing the shoulders, neck, and head. Feeling the sensations with this lumbar twist. This very simple twist. Inhale the knees to neutral, standing the feet on the edges of the mat, keeping the hands out 90 degrees from the shoulders. Straighten one leg and then the other, creating a 5-pointed star. Pentacle pose. And traditionally, pentacle pose acts like Shavasana in traditional yoga, a pose of utter receptivity. You've given everything to your practice. And now you're ready to receive the fruits of the practice. Sometimes the practice will leave you feeling in an expanded, relaxed state. Sometimes it will stir up things that need your attention. Both are gifts of the practice. Just to allow what comes to you to be as it is. Now you can remain for as long as you like in pentacle pose. Or if you're ready to transition into your next activity, slowly bend the knees, standing the feet on the mat. So either choice, staying as long as you like, or moving with me as you roll to one side, curl up into fetal pose. Gently press up to a seated position, coming back to our original easy seated pose. As you bring the hands together in prayer position, let the head bow in gratitude for our practice. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this yin class. And as I said, if you'd like more yin classes, check out my website. I do it twice a week. Have a great day.